Yeah.
We are here in this beautiful office, Cloudflare's office in San Francisco. We are joined by Craig. Craig, you're a developer educator here at Cloudflare, right?
Yeah.
I'm very happy that you agreed for this. Thank you for agreeing for this interview.
I'm very excited that you're here again.
Yeah, because we've been here for a hackathon, and now we are here for the interview. We are extremely happy because we both are super fans of Cloudflare. So I just want to mention that to our viewers that this could be biased a little bit, maybe. Yeah, but we are all passionate about technology, so I think it would be good. So before we start, I would like to ask you, Craig, how did you start programming, and what's your story?
Yeah.
How did you get involved with AI?
Yeah. So two stories there. One, when I first got started programming, I come from it's a very place of privilege, right? So my dad worked at a Y2K company. So the first time I applied for a job, I applied to KFC, Kentucky Fried Chicken, you know that? And then a Y2K company, and KFC didn't call back. So, way back in the day, I was a youngster and I was putting stickers on tapes. And so I had a lot of time and I just learned. I kind of did some self-taught stuff of how do I automate some of this work that's happening here, and oh look, batch files, and then from there I just started going.
Wow. Automation is usually the starting point, right? When you are thinking about programming, and when you want to get into programming, you are thinking about how to automate things, and that's usually the beginning for many people. And which programming languages did you start with?
Yeah, so that's this is a long time ago. So it was like a batch file, a Windows batch file, right? So that was the level of automation we needed. We were setting up laptops for people, and we were actually putting disks, like diskettes into machines. This was a long time ago. And we needed to make sure that we repeated the process the same way. So it was how do we make this happen? How do we automate? And we said, when you're ready, press this button, and then we just go through the program setup and things like that. And then I, as it comes from there, I was often thrown into the deep end. I started with some Java and this programming language called Lotus Script, which is back in the day for Lotus Notes.
I remember that.
Yeah. So, and AI. So definitely, often I was thrown into the deep end, and AI is very much the deep end, right? I'm sure that everybody, all the viewers, have had this experience where your boss is like, we need to add AI to this, and you're like, I don't know, how do I? So I had that experience. I was at Twilio, and we were looking to build hackathons to let people see what would happen if they worked with data in AI. And I had I had done a little bit of ChatGPT at the time. And so how do we let people build with this tool? And so we came up with this idea of how these people are coming and we don't know what their companies are. So we don't have any data for them. So I was like, what if we generated a company? So I was like, could it do that? And that's what I love about AI is you're like, can it do that? And you're like, oh, it can. And so it's I gave it a prompt and I said, you are a creative entrepreneur, you always start companies, and I want you to start a company in this industry. And it did it. And I was like, in the sunglasses industry. And I said, what's the name of your company? And it said, Shadazzle. And I was like, ooh, that's a great name. And then I said, what's the mission statement of Shadazzle? And then it gave me a mission statement. And I was like, whoa, what are some of the problems that you're having? And it was just, it was hallucinating, but in a nice way, right? So I took that and I saved it. And then you can replay messages, right, if you pass these messages. And so then when we brought people in, they played inside of this generated world where it was, and then they were able to ask questions. And it actually worked really well for a hackathon. And educationally, I think that's a really fun tool to use.
Before interview, you mentioned that you're working on a team that's called Emerging Technologies, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds pretty cool because it's something that it's like a state-of-the-art things or emerging things.
Yeah. So my team here at Cloudflare, we're called Emerging Tech and Incubation, and we run like a startup. We get it. We see hey, how's this thing working? What can we get this out there? Can we move quick? and we move very, very quick.
I'm very impressed by that. Even before AI, I was following Cloudflare for a long time, and Cloudflare seems as a company, like the velocity is amazing.
Yeah.
Like you're adding things very fast, and even if it's not polished, it doesn't really matter because it's like this constant
one iteration after another.
feedback loop and improvement. So
do you know what the secret is? And I'll let the secret out. You've heard the dog fooding example?
Exactly.
Right? So for those of you who don't know, dog fooding is, there was a CEO that worked at a dog food company and he said, if I don't eat this dog food, how do we know the dogs like it? Something like that. So basically it was like, eat your product. Some people say we got to sip our own champagne. People like that more than but then people say, well, I don't like the alcohol. We got to come up with a new one because I don't think either one of those are great. But so we use our own tools. So that really drives things forward. And especially if we're in this in this ETI and this emerging tech and incubation, we use the tools to build the tools. And then when that happens, you're like, hey, we need to fix this. We should do this. Oh, can it do this? Oh, it can. Oh, we should make a tutorial about the fact that you can do that. So that sort of thing.
And speaking about velocity, you've just released like 3 tools related to AI in Cloudflare, right? Vectorize. Workers AI, AI Gateway.
Yeah.
Could you speak briefly?
You are a huge fan.
We are. Could you speak briefly about each of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So Workers AI, there's this. We believe in the open models, right? So I'm being careful when I want to say open source because people will say, well, some people will get pedantically upset about that, as they should, because open source is a movement. These are these open models, there's these foundational models that are there, and there's fine tunes and tunings that you can do, and they're available on Hugging Face. But when you have to do that yourself, you have to figure out where to go and where to put them, things like that. So what we've done is we have. I was about ready to jump into our data centers, but I haven't even talked about that yet for people who might not know about Cloudflare. So we have data centers all over the world because we are on a mission to help build a better internet. So we know that the internet's not great everywhere, and so what we've done is we've put data centers everywhere. So the latency, wherever you are in the world, like Poland, if you happen to be in Poland, and you go and you hit that, it will be as quick as possible because the data centers are living there.
That's over 300 locations. Right?
Over 300 locations, right. And so part of building a better internet, helping to build a better internet, what we saw was people are building these AI apps and they're going to have that same problem, right? So we said, what if we sprinkled GPUs around and we let people have this quicker inference on, it's popular for people to say like the edge, that sort of thing. We've been saying recently, region Earth. So you don't think about it. You take that away. You hit these models that have been deployed for you wherever you need them, right? When you go to use them. So that's what we've been thinking. So that's what the Workers AI is. So we've put a REST API in front of it. It's a single REST call to it. We have been pushing a lot of models. To your point, you were saying that we've been moving fast. We've been like trying to find out what exactly are all the use cases that are going to help everybody build these tools. So we've been pushing up models that are in different use cases there and tweaking them to make them as fast as they possibly can.
I was amazed by the number of models that they are. It's like 20, maybe even more, 50?
53.
53, okay.
53 and 57 today.
We can
we'll get back to that.
At that point, but it's impressive. I wanted to maybe step back a little bit because worker, what is worker? Worker is just a function, right? It's a function. And what's really nice about Cloudflare's workers is that they support web API, right? So they take requests as a input and return response, which is like a newer, let's say, a way of thinking than let's say the other approaches like Node.js or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And Workers AI are not improve on that, right? So then you can, from the worker, you can call the model directly, which is very convenient, I would say.
Yeah.
And this way you can interact with like a bunch of interesting things and build on top of that. So I think the simplicity is a good point, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And with Workers AI, we want to make sure that you didn't need to be inside of a worker, but if you were, it should feel seamless, and it does. It's a really great feeling. So workers are that it's an isolate, is what we call them. It's this V8 JavaScript engine with the standard web APIs, and there's no cold boot. It's just boom, it's on, and it's I know you're fans, but it's fast.
So then Cloudflare provides like a lot of building blocks, I would say, right? For example, we have Workers AI, we have Workers, Workers are, you can use AI with that. We also have Vectorize, so we can use vector databases.
Yeah.
And then you have all those models that can, for example, change, let's say, text to embeddings, and then you can store them in something like Vectorize. Could you maybe describe a little bit
how it works?
Yeah, how it works and maybe potential use cases.
Yeah, sure. So vector databases have been around for a while, right? So like I think if you think about like, I'm looking for a product that's similar to this one, you encode what is happening there, and then you kind of like compare them. You get these three things are pretty close to each other. So the vector database is great for that. What we've been finding is that for like a lot of times what happens is, right, these models are trained and they don't have your data. So what you need to do is you need to some way get your data in there. And your data is big. It's a lot. So we have models that will do some embedding. So you might have seen that in OpenAI has an embedding model too. So you've seen these embedding models, and there's some open ones. So we have some open ones that are there, and we encode them and we basically turn them into vectors, which is like think of it like an array of floating point numbers, and we can push them into this vector database, which is on the edge as well. So again, deployed to region Earth. You don't think about it, it will be close to where your inference is. We have a thing called smart placement where we'll get it working the way that makes the most sense for your application, because you might have outside applications that you're hitting as well. But if you're using Vectorize and Workers AI, they're right next to each other. So it will be extremely fast. And that database that lives there, you say, I want to get information. I want you to find me the related records. And then you get these records back, and then you can go to whatever data store that you had, or you could store metadata in there. And what happens is you take that information and you can inject it into your AI prompt. So because you don't want to put all your data in there. I mean, there are. The interesting thing is that like there was a time where like you could never put all your data in there, but now we're getting to a point where these models are getting so fast that it might be. And I know that there's like a lot of companies that were like, uh-oh, there goes our whole tool. But what we're finding is that you still need this. You still need this vector database, because you need the speed and the precision. You don't want to push all that. Like you could push all that data now. Some of these context windows are gigantic, but that's expensive, right? Because especially for ones where you pay by the token.
Absolutely. And the pricing model in Cloudflare is pretty like, I would say, flexible and like very transparent, and it seems very cheap at the same time.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's even free, Pages, right? You can host the whole application there. It's not related to AI, but it's kind of impressive that you can...
You can do a lot for free.
Yeah, you can do it with Cloudflare.
So that, I mean, right, like remember our mission, right? Our mission is to help build a better internet, and we want people to be able to build. And so if you're unable to build because you can't afford it, that's not great, right? So we want to be able to provide that. And what we found happens, we've done this from the start, right? So like when we've always had this like super generous free tier. And the reason why we have that, or actually one of the benefits of having that, is we have people all over the world, so we can see attacks. The internet is constantly being hammered and attacked, and there's different things. And we can see that from around the world of what's coming in. So because we have all of these, it's actually everybody wins by that. So we like to say that like we want you to pay when you're ready to pay. So that's what the free tier is about. We want you to come and we want you to see and feel how it is. And when you're ready, you'll be ready. And until you're not, you're building. And we want you. That's what we want you to be able to do.
So we talked about the Workers AI, and then we talked about Vectorize, and it's all super fast, and it's on the like global region.
Yeah.
But then there is AI gateway or gateway AI.
Yeah.
So what's the use case for?
Great question.
If it's already so fast. So.
Yeah. So not everybody's ready to switch over to us yet, right? So that's we know that. We still want you to have a good experience, right? So the AI gateway, one of the things that it does is it lets you run everything through, right? So you run everything through it, so you can see. And it's not just limited to our models, right? So any sort of, if you're using a Claude or you're using a GPT, you can run it through this AI gateway, and you can see there how many things are going on. You can see pricing and things like that, and we're constantly adding to it. So we're adding a nice firewall there where you could like make sure that all the things that were going out were safe. I know there's a huge safety concern, right? You might have seen today that Meta released Llama Guard 2, which is it's so cool. So there's two concerns that happen, I think, in building AI apps. People are concerned like, oh no, someone's going to say something bad to this, and the model's going to say something bad. And so what you can do is you can put this Llama Guard up in front of it. We have the ability we give you the ability to do that currently, to build that, but there's no reason why that shouldn't be a tool that we also have that you just say, turn on the guard. And I don't want it to anything unsafe to happen that I've defined, because you can define the categories that make it safe. So the gateway is like a nice place to watch everything that's going through, and also you can switch, right? So if you are running through the gateway, you can switch your backend whenever you want to. So in situations where, like it happens, sometimes the CEO gets replaced for a weekend and you might get concerned, you could switch it. You could switch. If you're running through the gateway, you can do that.
So it seems on the one hand, it's very convenient to use Cloudflare. On the other hand, it's very flexible because you have all those options. If you are not fully immersed in this ecosystem, you can still have something like let's say middle ground.
You sound like a fan.
I mean, not only sounds like a fan, it sounds like you're paid. And just to be clear, we're not.
No.
We just met at a hackathon.
So maybe to challenge you a little bit, Craig, because there is a lot of vector database out there still, and I think Cloudflare has this like a position that could win because you already have other things that are very convenient to use. And as you said, it's better to have the vector database that's close to you or with reduced latency or whatnot. And how do you see this maybe competition playing out? And the other question is, do you think people, because Cloudflare seems ideal for building startups on top of, and do you think that's a good way of thinking about that?
I mean, again, back to the mission. I'm going to keep my hammer on the mission. We want startups to succeed, right? We want people to build, and we want that creativity out there, and we want to push things forward of however it needs to go safely and securely and as quick as possible. And so, yes, it's excellent for startups, and we love startups. I mean, like at our core, we love startups, right? So, I think that's a great way to go. But we also support a lot of the Fortune 500 companies, right? And so they know us on that side, right? They know us on that side, and we want to let them also build and feel safe in the same way that they feel safe using our other tools. So,
before the interview, you said that you were kind of busy doing something important.
What was that?
Sorry for being a little bit late. We're launching the Meta 3. Wait, let me make sure I get it right. Meta Llama 3. I need to say that correctly. I was told that's why we say it. Meta Llama 3 is launching today, and it's the next level of the state of the art model is coming out, and you know that people build on top of these models as they go. So I think we're going to see a really nice quick boom to it. I was getting the documentation out, and I have a couple of really quick tutorials. I have an idea of unboxing as a service. So it's a little Python notebook that you just kind of go and you get to play with it right away, right? Because our models are out there, and our models that are beta, which this one is coming out in beta, are free. So like all of the inference is free. So like I try to yell that from the rooftops here in San Francisco, like, yo, you can get this for free. Just go, it's an API call. So go play, because I think it's super important, right? I think it's super important. And I know that, like, we were also talking before about San Francisco. We're very lucky to have so many people who are experienced with it, but there's a lot of people out there who are like, I don't know, I don't have the time to do this. I don't have a credit card to do this. This is free.
Yeah, that was my next question, because there's a lot of uncertainty. Like we don't know about the future, how it will play out, right? We are just playing with something new. We don't really know how it works, something. And how you see the future? Do you think it's like more on the, are you optimist or are you pessimist?
I am like, I think the best thing for literally everybody to do right now, anybody who's even getting started coding or even thinking about coding or never wants to code, is to touch AI. Because it does stuff that you don't think is possible, and it will change what you think you can build, right? Like I said, I've been in this game for a long time. We were talking Y2K times, and it's stuff that, like, it does stuff that I was told growing up, I'm never going to be able to do that. I am never going to be able to look at an image and say, this looks like that. And like, I can literally do that. I could literally build an app at a hackathon that I never thought was possible. And it's here and it's accessible. And English, right? Like it's in English. Half of the amazing stuff that we've been building is literally in English. It's not even a coding language anymore. So I really would love to encourage everybody to touch it and play with it, because it will change what you think you can build. And we're seeing that. I mean, like, you're seeing that here in San Francisco, the amount of startups that are coming here that are just doing things that, like, oh, it can do that?
Play with different ideas and, like, sometimes even...
Yeah, just having fun.
Yeah.
Just having fun.
Exactly.
And with Cloudflare, I think it's convenient, but at the same time, you have this, like, huge infrastructure. So if ever your idea becomes something like more than just an idea, you still can
you can scale.
That's what we want.
Scale,
yeah, that's what we want. We want you to have that, and we want that success, right? So that mirrors both sides of what we were talking about there with, like.
If we could, like, maybe evolve a little bit on this point, what would you recommend in general to people starting maybe today? They want to learn programming, and should they learn programming, or should they start with AI? Should they maybe just dive into Cloudflare's docs?
So I've done a lot in my past of, like, teaching beginners how to code, and I think that if you are thinking about learning to code, you're probably going to end up using AI to cheat, and when you do that, know that is part of AI. That is part of what you're building, right? You're going to be like, so, like, you also do education as well, right? So one of I would teach beginners Python, right? And so one of the things that I would do in there is it would end with, we're going to play a number guessing game, because you get variables and you get flow state and you get, you talk about loops and you talk, all that stuff. So at the end, here's all the stuff that you did. We're going to build a little game and run it. I can go and I can say, can you make me a game that does this? And it does. Now, what's impressive about that, it'll generate the Python. I can also take an English and say in the system message, you are a game show host, right? So when you talk to these assistants, you talk to it and you say, you talk to the system message, you say, you are a game show host. You are going to play a game called Guess a Number. The number has to be between 1 and 100, and all this, and the user is going to try to guess. And I want you to make up, like, fun game show host things, and it will go and it will actually run. It will run a chat. There's no code. It's all in English. And when you take that, and when you see that, and you see that it is capable of, because right, AI has context and AI has a loop, and we're pushing the stuff through. And it's more creative than the code I would have written myself. You can see that magic. You can see that power there. I actually have a talk. I have a talk where I do that, and I take it to the next level where I build an entire karaoke assistant. So like talking about, like, what you want to motivate, and it's sending you links to YouTube things, all in English. It's like, what is this world? It's bonkers. It's so bonkers. It's such a bonkers time.
It's huge. And in a way, it replaces this old model of, like, a math teacher and a pupil, right? Like a person, like a student who's, because you have this feedback loop you can generate on your own, right? You can, like, have this, because what you described could also be used for you to brainstorm the idea you're working on on your own.
We do this every day, right?
Yeah, and in a more efficient way, or like faster, or without like all the...
It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. I recently pushed out an app that I didn't write the code for. I didn't even make the design for. A designer said, "Can we make this?" And I said, "Well, let's see." And I dropped it into a chat GPT, GPT-4, and I said, "Can you help me make this?" And I was like, "Oh, actually, I don't know. Can you make that Tailwind? Because I want to learn Tailwind." And I went and I said, "Wait, what does that line mean?" And it literally taught me, like, exactly what you're saying. So I do think that, like, that is how you should learn to code now. I actually was going to make a video series where I replaced myself in it. You know, like, where you're like, I'm an educator here, and now you don't need me. I'm out of here.
No longer needed.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting change of approach, because I used to have some students learning how to code, and they were ashamed of Googling things they didn't know, because they thought they have to memorize everything. Right. And now with AI, it doesn't even make sense to memorize almost anything.
Right.
It's like a partner.
There's concepts, and I think it's really about getting that system message right. So, like, if you can learn to write that system message to be like, hey, I literally know nothing about this. I need you to explain line by line. When you write code, I want you to put a comment on every single line. It works. It will do that, and it will, like that. Back to that number guessing example, it will write a line out for every single thing, and they're pretty good comments. They're better comments than I did when I taught the course to give to somebody.
I agree.
And the code the code that's generated by AI got much better than it used to be a year ago, for example.
And it is constantly getting better.
It's acceptable, I would say, right now.
Yeah.
And to your point, because we are talking about starting with something, but also if you're like faced with a large code base, right? Something which is very complicated, you can use AI, you can use those models to help you understand it more in a more efficient way. So it's also like
or a complex database.
Yeah, complex databases like relations.
Yeah. And you can put an English level in front of it too. So like, the level of like, we need a report that does this and this. Oh, actually now can you make it do this? And you've gone and you've created some sort of Jira ticket that's gone through like 2 weeks of stuff when you could have just put English in front of it and said, ask the question and then had it generate the stuff. And I've seen amazing stuff with that, like that. And that's what I think is really powerful. And like something that I want to make sure that everybody knows is that literally every industry is getting. Because in the beginning, we already talked about this, your boss said, I need you to put AI on this. Literally everybody has done it a little bit. And where it's leaked out, you're seeing, if you can talk in English to a thing, that's because somebody put AI in front of it, right? In this text generation AI world, right?
So basically after assembly, then C, then maybe, I don't know, TypeScript or Python, probably English is the next programming language that we'll all use.
Yeah, absolutely. And I bet that this Metalama 3, I bet that when you play with this, it's going to be better, right? Because it's progressing. It's progressing in what even it understands better. It understands. It is better at when you talk to it, mistakes that you make. The same way that like we would make mistakes and it would get the squiggly line. It knows now, and it can. I don't know.
It's also faster, right?
It's faster. Yeah.
There's like infinite patience.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I'm a little bit concerned about when it learns about itself. Right? Like how many blog posts are like, well, it can't do this. It's like, well, it can, but it's read that it can't.
So maybe I will ask you about this because we were like discussing it. What risks do you see with AI? What's like maybe, if we are talking about risks basically, or something that could go wrong in this space?
I think it's moving so fast, right? And I think that I have seen bureaucracy in companies, right, that like is there for a reason, right? Like when you get to a certain level, you need to make sure you go through all the legal things and all the concerns, and we need to make sure that those people's voices are still heard, and also need to move fast. So I think there's a concern in there, and there's a lot of great minds out there that are thinking about how to make this safe, and copyright and legal and all that stuff. But we're still ripping fast, right? Like I saw Mona Lisa rapping yesterday, and I was like, is that allowed? Like that's not that song, and that is like literally the Mona Lisa. Are you allowed to do that with the Mona Lisa?
Yeah. So
I was impressed by those like models. Like there was Suno AI, right?
Yeah.
And
oh my gosh.
Udio. It's the songs that are generated are mind-blowing.
Absolutely wild, yeah. And I think that like, people will say like, well, that won't ever be something that I listen to. And it's like, how many times I've sent those links versus how many times I've sent a song to somebody lately? Like, yeah, it's, so they do a great talk, that crew does a great talk about like, they're just changing what it means to share music. Because like you're sharing this
it will be more
yeah.
personalized, right? It will be something that you like, and it will cater to your like maybe the people around you.
Also, short funny story. He sent me a song that was AI generated, and I didn't know. I didn't realize.
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah.
Well,
it got that good. Yeah.
Wow. Did you put it in your playlist, in your rotation? Like jog into
it was like a funny song, like a little bit trolling, but
I thought just some YouTuber recorded it, or something. I don't know.
That's awesome.
And Craig, I wanted to ask you about, because we talked about those new things like related to music. Do you have other favorite projects that you are seeing outside, let's say, Cloudflare's, what you're working on?
Or inside.
Or maybe inside, but things that you are maybe interested in or you want to start getting more into?
Yeah, I think like in our video education world, right? Like you were at the hackathon this week, but there are companies that are doing really cool stuff with AI and video, and I would love. This has been my dream forever, and I was told it's not possible, and so now I'm like, aha! Wait a second, maybe it is possible. So I would love for you to be you watch a video, you watch an educational video, and you turn your camera on, and I read your face. And when you go, like, oh, you look like you might have, because that's what I do in the classroom, right? So I taught in the classroom.
Interesting.
And I miss that. I miss the ability to be like, ooh, that didn't land. Yeah. But if I have, so you see their face and you kind of control what's happening there and fork, right? Like you have recorded videos already, but you fork off into this other place and you say, oh, are you having a problem with that? They're like, or they're yes, right? Like whatever. Then you continue going down this path. It's close, and it's close. Like I mean, it's not. I wouldn't subject anybody to that yet, but the tech is close, and it's good, and that unlocks so much.
I agree.
Right?
Because what's missing right now is like all this non-verbal communication, right?
But we got pretty close with audio communication, real time. Right? You can
Audio
interrupt
there,
the model.
But now when I see you, Craig, you're smiling or maybe you are sad about the question I asked or something. I can see that, and this is something which is missing still in those things. So that's a pretty cool idea.
It works for like industries too. Like if you're like stand-up comedians need to do these horrible open mics. Like you need to go to an open mic and like just bomb and see if the joke works or not, right? And what if you just did that? You had an open mic where you had a recording of your thing and then you just crowdsourced. Oh, they laughed at that. That was a good one. Like it's a thing. Like, and it seems wild, but we're here. I saw some people playing with smell too. Okay. So like they're trying to figure out how do we synthesize smell. And I was told that's never possible. And again, like
that's pretty cool ideas actually.
That would totally change, right? And like it works. Well, actually, I don't know if it works. At Burger King's here, they pipe a smell of like barbecue.
They do.
But it's not coming from the place. I don't know how they do it or what they're pushing, but like when you drive by, you're like, oh, that smells good. Oh, it's Burger King. Yeah. But it's not there.
I thought it was the burgers.
I'm sorry to ruin it for you.
Yeah, so Craig, thank you very much for this interview, for your time. It was amazing to talk about all those things, and looking forward to what Cloudflare will announce next.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us here.
Yeah,
awesome. Good seeing you guys.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Thank you. Let's smile and wave to the camera.